Is that us, Sean? Thank you very much. That's Sean Byrne, the Newry man, my studio nerd. He smiles at the word nerd. He's all right.
Good sport he is.
These are no nerds. This is Ray Owens from Southern Pines and George Kingsnorth from Drummondtee and places further east to there. Yeah, of course, English provenance, but you're very welcome, both of you. You had a good week. You were in earlier in the week, the pair of you.
Oh,
yes?
Brilliant week.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. When do you go back?
I go back on Sunday. I'm leaving for Dublin today, so I'll spend the day in Dublin.
Yeah. What should you do in Dublin? Take yourself. Have you a day in Dublin?
Oh, yes.
Drop into the National Gallery.
Oh, I went last time. It's brilliant.
Wow,
isn't it?
it's lovely. See the O'Connor paintings there. Roderick O'Connor, contemporary of Gauguin, of Van Gogh, with all the heavy striation of paint and the yellows of the field of yellow. All of that sort of is gorgeous stuff.
Oh, it really speaks to me. I enjoyed it last time very much.
So try and fit that. A nice lunch there in the restaurant there.
Yeah.
And you know, you've been there, but you've seen it. It's great, isn't it, George?
It draws me back. And I tell you, is it the Chester Beatty? I love that.
I haven't been there, but
Rowan, you need to go there. As a person who likes books, you would love it.
I shall do this. I shall. You're heading towards the film festival, George.
Yep, we're getting there slowly but surely. We've finished
September time, yeah.
September the 16th is when the Bleeding Pines Turpentine is being shown.
Wow.
And the festival goes right on through to the.
And it's the premiere.
It's the premiere, yeah.
Yeah, for goodness sake.
So no one's seen it until that day.
Wow. We have a little preview of things, and we're going to do it on Monday.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that yourself and Kate O'Hanlon will come in on Monday.
That'd be great.
And we'll do things there. I want to talk to you about poetry and things like that.
Yes.
And you've been scribbling even from the days you were in the bush, I would have thought.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I kept journals when I was in Africa and in all of my travels, really.
Tell me about your African experience, because you were in Liberia at the time of the war there, the Civil War.
Oh, absolutely.
Were you in Monrovia?
I was in, no, actually I was on the Charles River about 3 hours back into the bush from Monrovia. But I had come into Monrovia, and it was something because I was 19 years old.
Wow.
And I'd gotten a job working with a map-making company that was international. And one of the trustees of the company was from the town I was from, a small place called Hamlet, North Carolina. And so they put me on a plane, and I realized that there were troubles in Africa, but I didn't know to what extent. So the day the plane landed, we get off on the tarmac coming down. We're surrounded by the military. I was encircled by troops with machine guns, and a commander of some sort came up to me and saluted and demanded my passport.
Wow. Isn't it interesting they salute you before shoot you?
Well, that's what I was thinking.
That's you were heading towards.
Oh, it was really something.
How awfully generous of you.
I was saying, but it's more like your mind goes blank. It's what happens. And you're young and you're looking around, you're in a strange place. So I looked off in the distance and I recognized a person that I knew who was part of the crew. And so he comes over and grabs me, and I'm standing there wanting my passport back. He says, "No, don't argue with them." And he grabs me and takes me and says, "We're getting out of here." And you
had lost your passport at this stage.
He took my passport, and he told me that while I was there that I would have to maintain respect. And I think it was Commander Doe, John Doe.
Yeah, John Doe.
John Doe.
He was eventually shot on the beach,
He was eventually
wasn't he?
shot,
They put a log into the beach, tied him to it, and shot him.
Yes.
But I think that's what happened.
I believe you're right. And they said I needed to remain loyal to him and not break any of his rules. So they...
Which you said, yes, sir.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And so we began driving in a Jeep through the city, and the Army and all of the school teachers were on strike. And so you barely could make it through the streets. And I just remember being really horrified, realizing I was stuck in a place and everything was beyond my control. So we went into the bush and began our work. And the more and more we delved into it, I realized that all the native people were being displaced by the hydroelectric project I was working on.
Wow, they didn't like you for that.
No, they actually were very sweet and kind to me.
Yeah.
But they didn't understand how I could be in Africa working with the government, that I did not know the President of the United States, or I didn't know significant people who I could then go back and relay their plight to. They didn't understand that. And so I would draw pictures in the dirt and try to explain to them that I came from a rather small village in America.
Like them and their small village,
And more and more it became apparent that the danger I was in. And so every evening I would listen to Voice of America and pretty much plotted how I was going to get out of the country if I had to.
Yeah.
And the natives really liked me, and pretty much they came up with this idea. They said, Ray, we will walk you to a Senegal, which is a long distance away.
Oh,
I'm like, how on earth will you do this? And they said, oh, we'll follow the trails and we'll go through the bush and we'll get you out.
Yeah.
So finally, I remember it was on a Thanksgiving.
An appropriate day.
It was. They came to me and said, we're going to try to get you out. You're the youngest one, and we're going to take you. And I had to go before the military. So they brought me back into Monrovia, and everything's in turmoil. And by this point, the capital, you can look up, and it's shot full of holes. And they have killed everybody in the government. And there's this big mound of earth where they've taken all the bodies and just mounded earth over them. And so there again, it's not fear. It's more like your mind is
Isn't
blank.
it interesting? That is an interesting concept because and an interesting truth, because I remember in another situation like that at another time, I remember so well, we were stopped on the road from Abuja to the river in Nigeria, surrounded by, well, we thought to begin with it was a police checkpoint was stopping us.
Yes.
So we stopped. There was two of us in the pickup, and no sooner had we stopped than the policeman disappeared, and we were surrounded by machete carrying thugs with sticks and all the rest of it. Give us money, we want money, get out, come with us. And again, there was no fear, and there should have been fear.
Yeah.
But there was a situation of merely and simply looking at a situation you were in. There's an unreality to it, but somehow you had an assurance in your own head that you were going to get out of it. Somehow. And all we did was Donal looked at me, and I looked at Donal, and I nodded, and he put the boot down and went through them and out of it. That was all right till we got a little further down the road. And further down the road, we were stopped again by another crew. But this time we knew what was going on. So we slowed down, and then we sped off through it. But it's you meet, as you met your friends, your good people who were going to get you out.
Yes.
We were filming African cattle being driven along the main road.
Yes.
You know, the ones with the great horns and the hump on the back.
Sure.
We were doing this, and the police stopped. You're under arrest. Why are we under arrest? For filming the cattle. You must not do this. But we're on a public, you come with us. We were there and we were remonstrating politely and all the rest of it with him and explaining. And suddenly a tall, statuesque, very beautiful Nigerian woman in the full Nigerian costume and colours. And she walked up and she said, what is going on here? And the police chief said, what is it to you? What are these people, these white people have nothing to do with you. This is no concern of yours. She says, as a matter of fact, it has. Come to me. Took him to the one side, talked for 5 minutes, come back and told us we were free.
Wonderful.
But you come across things like that.
Absolutely.
How did you get your passport back?
Well, what happened? It was a similar thing, Rowan, because as we're describing, you've been in a similar situation. It's as though you go into almost this animalistic survival mode, and you do believe you're going to make it. And I think this must be common to all of us in the situations. What they did was they took me, and I had to go through a series of interrogations. They held me for a few hours, and they separated me. There was a guide who was from Liberia, who had been to America. And so he was taking me through, and they allowed him to go through enough of the process to where I was calm. It was a series of interrogations. They wanted to know where I had traveled to, who I had met with, and it was, you could tell many of the questions were trick questions, wanting to know if I had in any way influenced people, or if I had assisted them, or I was carrying messages for them. And they would search things, and so so I made it through that series, and then they came to me and they said, okay, we're going to hold you. We want to verify that all that you've said is true. And so I was going to have to spend the night in this compound. So, which I did. So I was in this very stark room that was really like a prison cell. And you would hear very interesting things going on around you, and it was constantly as though things were going wrong. But people were coming and reporting and talking, and it's at that point when you've stopped and you start to reflect on the scenes in the city and how horrific it is. and it was, and so you, at that point, I think I just descended into a constant state of prayer, to be honest.
Yeah.
And
you have a belief, do you, in prayer?
I do. Yeah, I always have. I do. Yeah, very much. I pray constantly. I would say.
Yeah. I kind of, there are different ways. Lord, I am here. Ergo, I pray. By your presence, I'm praying. By my walking, by my talking, by my doing, I'm praying.
Yes.
I'm here. Whatever has to be done, I shall do it. But I kind of not a kind of, I really detest this, oh Lord of the great heavens above, oh wondrous majesty. Not for me, baby.
Yeah, you're singing with that.
I want to talk. I want to talk and say, okay, God, where are you today? This is where I am. Does he want us to talk to him in that way, I wonder?
I don't judge how people respond to deity or to the ultimate state of being. For me, my prayers are simple. It's just simply, oh God. Essentially, for me to pray, it's odd to talk about this, particularly on television, but I'm basically saying, oh God.
Yeah.
That is the extent of my prayer.
But that's a huge prayer.
That's everything. Me, because
that's the beginning,
I'm
the middle, and the
basically
end.
saying, I am small.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is all there is.
You're kind of going, hey, look at me, I'm there. Yeah.
So, well, finally, in Liberia, what happened? The next morning, very early, they come in, open the door, and I have no idea what's going to happen.
Am I going to be shot? Am I going to be released? What is this happening?
They hand me my passport. And they say, okay, you're to leave, but you're to leave immediately. Wow. So then they take me to the airport. I'm put into, again, a secure situation. And there's all these Europeans, there's people, everyone who's getting out.
Yeah.
And we all get on a plane and begin to take off. And I just remember, it's the strangest thing. As I've been walking forward, I said to myself, I am never looking back.
No.
And so the whole time, as I was walking out, I would not turn around. They would speak to me and I wouldn't turn around. They'd say, what are you doing? And I said, I'm not looking back.
No.
And so they put me on the plane. The minute the plane takes off, I realize I'm going to probably be safe.
Yeah.
I become violently ill. And to the point that everyone's trying to help me. And I am so sick, and I felt humiliated to be that sick in front of people.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it was just the weight of the whole thing. It all of a sudden became very physical.
Yeah.
Because
I know this.
But what you said about the machetes, oh my goodness, I kept imagining myself being chopped apart, because I saw one person be tortured the day I arrived, and what they had done was they strapped him on the front of a Jeep. And they tortured him. They rode him through the bush and had the vines and everything hit him.
Oh my God.
And it went on and on and on to where they didn't quite kill him, but they just beat him to death. And so I envisioned myself being torn apart in various ways. And so I think the sickness was the weight of finally being able to feel something.
George, there's a film here, I think. I can see you.
I
can see you in the second agenda in Southern Pines when you go out. We're talking flashbacks here. We're seeing the beauty of the forest walks in Southern Pines, and then the flashbacks of this contemplative man. You know,
I get the feeling that the walks that Ray takes through Southern Pines is his healing process to that kind of purification to help him through all of those problems he's had.
Absolutely. Your poetry helps you as well.
Oh, absolutely.
What have you got?
Oh, well, I've got one that maybe is reflective of what we've just spoken about.
Okay. Would you mind reading it to us?
It's called The Spirit of Turpentine, which of course was the old industry in the place
the
where
Spirit
I
of
live.
Turpentine.
And this is reflective of both our people, our woods, and our past. And it's about the human condition. Looking up. It's easy to see God, but looking down. What happens in your turn as rolling days slip away? What lingers on? Yellowing pages growing invisible. Yes, this is to come. It is what God made and gave with arms open wide, and it is for you. Offered is the sky, and hope that it would satisfy, but if you want the earth, it's offered too. Looking up into a bright cloud, all you make out are the edges. In that final days of light, it's as though you meet a soldier, unable to describe the whole battle, only a little piece of it. The hill taken, the field lost, his own wounds and the wounds he gave. In this dream, there's never sleep, longing for something more. Are we all just wrapping bones in a land born up from the sea? sand so deep it swallows you, trees that die without the flames for the fire makes them sprout. They green and branch, spin and toil as their roots reach out for you. Misting, dissolving, roomy woods, your power exists unknown. Time immortal drinks the thirsty desert.
Wow. We think things last forever, but here you have the yellowing pages becoming invisible, But then there's hope because the roots are reaching out for you.
Sure.
That's a huge metaphor.
Yes,
it really is. So fantastic. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
So back in Southern Pines, what's your life like there? What are you? Have you always been a poet and a writer and made your living from that? Or is this something that has crept up on you over the years?
I always was a writer. I come from a family of writers and storytellers. My earliest memories are from my grandfather's home. He lived in a very rural setting. He had no internal plumbing, no electricity. It was just a mountain cabin in North Carolina. And finding all throughout the house stacks of his writings with him telling stories, and he wrote constantly. And my mother did this. She wrote poems. And so I grew up in a house full of books where people were constantly expressing themselves in writing. So as a child, I would mostly play and mimic this. I didn't, of course, know how to do this. But then I kind of thought it normal. I thought everyone did it until I went to school and realized that I was kind of collecting pieces that I was writing.
And a little bit ahead of the posse because of your provenance at home.
I think possibly, but life in Southern Pines is, Rowan, I think about it all the time because it's a small village, but it's more European actually than American, in that the people are from all over the world, and it's a microcosm of the greater world.
Wow.
It's a town named for its forest. The forest is unbelievably beautiful, and it's the way in which we all are connected, and we love this place. And so my favorite thing to do always is to be in the woods, in the forest, the temple of God it is for me.
Absolutely.
And so I work as a steward of these woods. I'm on various committees, and I work with the community to help preserve and perpetuate it.
You're ideally positioned to have a view about the Newry that you have adopted over in Ireland, our place.
Yes.
You're talking about a nirvana place of Southern Pines. We hardly fit into that category, do we?
No, my God. I was at Slievegoyen yesterday, and what I was thinking is, to me, Slievegoyen is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. And it's the contrast you see, Rowan. If you look at my forest area, and I'm looking at this rolling, kind of sandy, it looks like a beach. And it looks as though someone planted it. All the plantings under it, it's quite idyllic. And then for me to be on top of Slievegoyen with the wind whipping around and the clouds and the starkness of the rocks and the plants, it's like the contrast brings it into greater focus to me.
We perhaps think maybe it's a case of familiarity breeding contempt. We're so used to it, George. You're up there in Drummond T, it's fantastic. I'm down in Warren Point overlooking the ocean.
The thing is that I'm obviously not, you can tell by the accent, I'm a foreigner that's come to live here and chosen to live here. And I think what a lot of people locally find sort of strange is because they do think, they don't recognize the kind of beauty that they actually live in. Whereas I've had an opportunity to choose this as my home and to make this my home purely for those kind of reasons. I've seen the things that Ray's have seen. I love the fact that you can actually go for a walk around Slievegoyen and let everything, all the troubles of the world just fade away from you and just be there in the moment and you know, really relish in what it is that we have here.
Yeah, I understand. And I want to know about Southern Pines because I want to. How do I get there? I go to Dublin Airport, and where do I fly to?
Oh, you go to Dublin Airport in an easy way during the summer season. You fly to Charlotte.
Charlotte.
And then you call
Where's Charlotte?
Charlotte is in the center of North Carolina.
Yeah. And is there a flight from Dublin to Charlotte?
Direct flight.
Really? You're joking.
Oh no, it's wonderful. It is so easy.
So Charlotte is how far from Southern Pines?
Hour 45 minutes.
Yeah, and we go there by bus or train or what?
No, I'd come pick you up. No, usually because of the sister city relationship, we are arranging and accommodating and helping people but it's fairly easy to drive. George could talk to you about that. You
and
can easily rent a
the
car.
time, what's the propitious time to come?
It's I would say definitely the spring or the fall.
So we're going
coming into a good season for it.
So fall or spring, which would you suggest?
Spring. It's heavenly.
Okay.
Very beautiful.
I'm in Africa in February.
Yes.
Come to you when?
Come to us in March.
March.
During the Palestris Festival.
Right. Dates in March?
It's the end of March. It's the 3rd or the 4th weekend in March.
Yeah, 3rd or 4th weekend.
Yes.
I'm a-coming.
I want you to come.
It's going to happen.
Oh, fantastic. So good to see you.
Good to see you, George. Thanks for coming in. You're a good man, and thank you so much indeed. And long may the relationship prosper between Southern Pines and Newry.
Rowan, I feel like I met a kindred spirit in meeting you.
You're there.
Wonderful. Wonderful,
God bless
my friend.
You're a good man. We don't do any harm to people, or at least we try not to.
Yes.
And that's as much as can be said. Now, our program continues today with a celebration of our nautical heritage. The ships that went out of Newry through the locks and came back in again to Newry. Sugar Island over here in Newry is called after the sugar beet that was taken in, the sugar cane that was taken in from the Barbados and places like that, and it was processed in Newry. That's where we got Sugar Island. And we had the warehouses alongside the canal. And all the ships are coming in and unloading and all the rest of it. So we're celebrating that this weekend.
Yes.
Sean, let's have some music, dear boy.